Hello and welcome to My Side of the Bag. I'm Drew Hinesley, joined by my co-host, Scott Leonard, aka Scotty Worldwide. We've both been trying to get together and do a podcast with all the stuff going on in the golf world this in the early spring events, but we've both been working on tour. Now we're coming to you both from our homes, which is going to be a rare event, I think, as the rest of this year unfolds. So, Scotty, thanks for making some time for us at home in LA today.
No, and thank you for doing this. Like you said, we've both been working and traveling a lot. I had a home event last week, so that was nice. Nice to stay in my own bed and not have to waze my way to the golf course per se. But yeah, no, it's definitely good to be here and another interesting week and a lot to get into off the backs of a busy Sunday in golf.
Well, let's start with your home event, the JM Eagle at Wilshire Country Club. You're an LA guy. You know that place probably better than just about anybody else that walks the grounds year after year. Just tell me about the event and talk about the dramatic finish we had on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really good event. Obviously, I worked it. We didn't have a great weekend, finished T61 with Elizabeth. But I was on site all week, worked the Monday, qualify for the old boss Annie Park. I thought the golf course was phenomenal. I thought it's the best it's been set up. Shouts out to the LPJ rule staff. And I thought you saw that and had a deserving winner coming down the stretch. The stretch is so hard. That 17th and 18th hole, 17th predicting that bounce from the fairway. It seems to play a little softer. I even saw them watering the front of that green this year, which never really do. And then obviously you have a par 3 18 finish where you're right in front of the clubhouse and everyone's looking down on you. Obviously we didn't get a lot of drama, so Hannah kind of cruised in and didn't have the pressure of playing those holes. But I thought it was a great tournament, and shouts off to Wilshire and the LPJ for giving us a little bit of a Hollywood story there.
All right, here on my side of the bag, we've got a unique perspective because you and I are out there every week dealing with course setup, dealing with the
Yeah.
elements. You brought up course setup at Wilshire Country Club. I've been there a couple of times. When I was there, it was very firm, very fast. So go back and explain to the viewer how was the course setup good this week? Why? And what has made it not so good in the past? I think the listeners would like to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, so right out the gate, par five, 15, which normally as a course we play 16, was moved up on Thursday morning. They decided to move it up. And I thought that is so unique and so good because everyone in the field, if you hit it in the fairway, you can get there. I mean, we hit day one, we hit 6 iron in. Ended up hoping over the back, didn't get up and down, so made kind of a bad six there. But that's what I think good course setup is giving people chances on Thursday, on Friday with tees set up. And that's just another example. The Friday and Saturday, they moved 13 up, which is the other par five with the water and the big bunker on the left. So you kind of have to hit the tee shot down the right, and hopefully that it stays there. I think moving those tees up early in the round on Thursday and Friday is unique and good. And you do all this prep, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if they move the tee up, and then all of a sudden, only one day they're moving the tee up. So I think the golf holes are actually better. They make them way more exciting, and it lets you, have a eagle or birdie chance early in the week, which I think is something that viewers want to see. And again, shots off to the rule staff. I was really happy to see them, do that. They have never moved 15 up on the weekday in the 5 years that the tournament's been here.
So, for those of you that may not be aware, most folks watching our podcast should be pretty big golf fans to find us. But hopefully, we're branching out and getting some more people that don't know. So, every week, there's anywhere between 132 to 156 golfers in the field. And every one of those players, every one of those caddies is preparing for all different contingencies. Obviously, we're preparing for 4 rounds, but typically, you'll see a very vanilla setup on Thursday, Friday, very much the same, maybe one pin back left, the next pin front right. And then only on the weekend when you have the top 60 or 70 players will they sometimes get creative like Scotty talked about? So it's fun to give all the competitors that tee it up in any given week a chance to play a little different on each hole, both Thursday and Friday, instead of just rinse and repeat and then throwing a curveball at the weekend crowd. It is fun when everybody can get a chance to experience all that the course has to offer.
Yeah, no doubt. And just another one that came to mind is just the 18th hole. So we played two left pins from the back box, and then we played the right pins on Saturday and Sunday. On Sunday, that was a really tough carry. It's like a 118 and probably 7 over that right bunker. So I mean, and they moved the tee up. So that way you could hit something softer and spinnier to that pin and knock it close. And you saw that if you watched the teleclass, a lot of people hitting that ball close. Even we got one there on Sunday. So, things like that, knowing the yardage and knowing the clubs that are going to be hit. And so making it exciting. Like if you have to hit 7-iron or 6-iron there, well, then you're probably not stopping it and it's not a good setup. So moving the tees up just on that 18th hole to that front, right, kind of front over that bunker right pin, was another example of really good course setup.
Well, and that hole, it's a little bit for the viewers that weren't watching or that have never been to Wilshire Country Club. There are some similarities of 18 at Wilshire as we play it in the tournament and 12 at Augusta as far as the way the green moves and the bunkering. It's a little bit more downhill than 12 at Augusta. But just like 12 at Augusta, if you play too conservative, and in the case of that back right flag, if you play too much to the middle, and your distance is anywhere close to hole I, you're actually over the green near some hospitality tents into a pretty wet, usually area where you got to elevate the ball quick, no room to stop it. So it is a short par three, but it is by no means easy.
Yeah, and it's just like at Augusta. There's really no way to get that wind right because the compass that's in the book is not at the angle that you're actually hitting the ball. And then you come off 18 where it's wind's like hurting off the right. And then, or off 17, the wind's hurting off the right. And then you get up there and it feels like it's hurting off the right again a lot of times. So it's just, and there's no way it can be. And just committing to the southwest or the west southwest wind for that day is hard to do because you're not necessarily feeling the same thing that the wind's doing when you're standing on that tee.
Well, and that's where experience really plays a factor on all tours is kind of knowing when you're in that 17th fairway, you kind of look at your player and you say, hey, let's get a real good feel for where this wind is now. So when we get over there on 18, because 18's hard up against a big structure, in this case, the clubhouse of Wilshire Country Club, big sprawling clubhouse, love it, Spanish style clubhouse. There's a bunch of eucalyptus trees that kind of separate Wilshire Boulevard right behind you and the rest of the golf course. So it's very hard to feel anything on that tee box, like Scotty explained. And that's where a veteran caddy on the hill where you are exposed the prior hole can say, hey, let's get it dialed in here because it's going to be very uncertain on the tee and we're going to feel and see contrasting things. So let's really get committed now to hit the shot in 7 or 8 minutes when we get over to 18T.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So we talked about experience. We're going to get to an experienced caddy having maybe the worst day of his career after you explain the hat you're wearing, and I'll explain the get up that I have on right now.
Yeah. So happy to be supported by Birdie Brands. Shout out to Will Davidson. Was a longtime teammate of mine out here. Caddied for Akshay, caddied for Lexay, but this is Birdie Brands, the double birdie, the skincare company that he has, and he's put in a lot of pro shops. So always want to support, Will when I can, and happy to be a proud ambassador of Birdie Brands.
This week in Arlington, Texas, the guys from Hammerback Golf were kind enough to set up a player caddy lounge, offer us these shirts, these hats, some other swag for anybody that wanted them. Nothing required. They're not paying me to do this, but on the Corn Ferry Tour, we don't get a lot of hospitality suites. And so I met these guys. They just started their podcast earlier this year, so they're just getting started. So if you're watching, give them a follow and check out some of the action they have at Hammerback Golf. Again, very kind guys in the Dallas Metroplex supporting caddies and players on the Corn Ferry Tour. All right. And by the way, speaking of birdie brands, I think did you go viral this weekend with the birdie brands hat?
We
With
had a
some photographers following you around. You're the only caddy out there with his own entourage.
I mean, we've got lucky, but we played the pro-am with Catherine Newton, an actress some might know, and then Dan Rappaport from over at Barstool and on Foreplay. So I've known Dan for probably 12 years. I used to caddy for him at Sherwood Country Club back in the day. But to see him go off to Northwestern, work for Golf Digest, and now obviously with um, Barstool has been cool. So this is the first time I've seen him in a while, and he had a crew, and we did a walk and talk with Elizabeth, and we just had a really fun Wednesday morning out there for 9 holes. We played with Commissioner Molly. I'm gonna get the name messed up, but we played with Commissioner Molly, so that was interesting to kind of hear her perspective and ask her some questions. I don't think I told you that, Drew. So yeah.
Well, just in case Rappaport and maybe Portnoy's tuning in, Scotty's mine. You guys aren't stealing him, and I'll go to battle to keep him. So just be warned, all you guys over at Barstool. He's my co-host. He's not going to be yours.
You're paying me way too much, Drew.
There we go. Check with a lot of zeros in it, as my accountant father always used to say. All right, so now the drama from Wilshire on Sunday, as you say, the finish didn't produce any drama because Hannah Green cruised to back-to-back victories, but it was Grace Kim providing the drama.
Yeah.
Pretty big collapse, 12 under through 36 holes. I think she finished even or even over par. Talk about that. That's a tough thing to watch. We're all competitors. We want to beat each other really bad, but you want to beat people when they're at their best. And I don't think Grace had her best this weekend.
No doubt, and it was tough to watch. I'm probably closer to Gracie more than others. I helped her find Drew Ernst and got them situated in the off season together. So to see him in the position they were at in the group in front of us, by the way, all week on Thursday and Friday, for her to shoot that 7 under and then to be that 5 under Friday afternoon where it was pretty windy and tough conditions, I thought was even better than the 7 under Thursday morning. To be at 12 and then to really, I don't think she made a birdie in 36 holes on the weekend. So that was very, very tough to watch. It was tough. I was out there, the crowds were behind her and saying Gracie. She had a really nice, heartfelt message to her supporters on Instagram today. Encourage anyone to go read it and get a sense of who Gracie is. And she was the very first person to hug Hannah and her fellow countrywoman after Hannah's win. But it was just tough to watch, tough to kind of didn't see a reset. She just kept kind of missing putts after missing putts, and it didn't really seem that there was any differentiating factors in her game other than just missing putts and kind of getting frustrated out there. But she is a winner. She's got a winner on the bag, and they'll grow together and they'll figure it out. And I think they'll be better next time they're in this situation. I don't think it did her any favors to be paired with Hannah on Sunday, her fellow countrywoman from Aussie. So I think Hannah's kind of the mother of Team Aussie on the LPGA, and they all look up to her. So I think she would have been way better suited playing in a different group where she didn't have to kind of have the pressure of Hannah with her. And I think you saw that on the 18th green when Karis Davidson, Steph Kuriaku, Weiwei, who caddies for Steph, they all were there within a minute to put their arms around and share some champagne with Hannah because they all look up to her, not just as a golfer, but I think as a woman and as a person as well. She definitely controls Golf Australia. So, yeah, I mean, we can talk a little bit about Drew and maybe kind of what things he could have or should have done during that round to get it back. But I think the damage was done on Saturday because she had 4-shot lead going into Saturday, and just let everyone back into it with shooting 4 or 5 over on Saturday. And so, when something like that happens, and would love to hear your opinion too, Drew, is like, how do you reset? Say, hey, I'm still tied for the lead, and I can still go out and have a really good Sunday because I didn't have a good Saturday. And that just didn't happen. I don't know if anyone's to blame for that, but for whatever reason, the reset never happened.
All right, so you brought up Drew Ernst.
Yeah.
my side of the bag, we're a couple of tour caddies doing a podcast. I've gotten feedback. I know you've gotten feedback of other tour caddies who are tuning in. And I think one of the things that they want to see is a professional discussion
Sure.
of the people involved as far as the caddies in crucial moments. This is certainly one. You have already stated how well you know Drew. I was teammates with Drew when
Yeah.
Bianca and Andrea Lee played together at Dow 2 years ago. I loved walking alongside him. Didn't think there was anything that he did that wasn't professional, that wasn't exactly the way I would have done it. Don't want to trash Drew at all here. The question I have is, what could he have done? And you ask, what do I do? I almost treat it like this situation right here. Okay. We're
Yeah.
recording this podcast. If this thing goes suddenly off the rails, we say some things we shouldn't want to say. We would be embarrassed if they ever became public. What are we going to do? We're going to hit the stop button and we're going to start a new recording. That's almost what you have to do out on the golf course. You have to say, okay, I'm pressing the stop button. You say that out
Yeah.
loud to your player. I'm stopping it. Let's stop whatever mental conversation is going on. Let's hit the stop button. Let's do a couple of seconds of breathing, relaxation, go to your happy place, whatever it may be. And you try to maybe go over into a little corner away from the galleries, away from the fans, so you can try to center yourself. And then you turn back around, you open your eyes, you take a couple deep breaths, and you hit the record button again, and you start a brand new tape. And like you say, this probably should have happened at some point on Saturday. And I always tell my players, once I call, one's an accident, two's what's the saying? One's an accident, two's a trend, and three's trouble or whatever.
Yeah.
So once
Yeah.
I see a third swing or a third shot or a third putt miss the exact same way, that's when I speak up. That's kind of three strikes and you're out. I'm going to now step in and ask you to make some sort of adjustment, whether it's mental or physical. Had that happen actually with my guy in Dallas this week. Saw a couple of swings go away. We haven't seen them in several, 50 something holes. And all of a sudden we missed three the same way. And I said, okay, I stopped him in a fairway. I said, do whatever diagnostic check you need to do right now. And let's resolve this before we get up here and hit our next shot. And after that, he fixed it and we kept going. So again, sometimes you've got to do that before you set the house on fire. The house, I think, got set on fire Sunday, but again, we had some bad wiring issues Saturday that we should have addressed before the flames started, right?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, and again, also too, this is a new relationship that started this year. He famously was working for, like you said, Andrea Lee, has won with Andrea Lee. So this is a new partnership that was formed this year, and I don't know if he knows well enough when the time is to step in and step out. That's a question, and sometimes you don't want to do things that you're not yet comfortable doing. And so there's a plethora of reasons, and we could list them all. You mentioned you have a three strikes rule. I'm kind of always a guy that how we finish matters. And so even if we're whatever over par for the day, when we get to 15, 16, I always kind of tell my player, like, hey, how we finish matters. Let's go get some momentum and let's get a couple back here. Right. So, all of those little things that I think all of us do in our own way. Um, but also too, we don't know what the discussions were, right? They could have had that meeting. They could have had those talks out there, and for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. She's a young player. This is her second full-time year out here. Already has a win in a playoff in a high-pressure situation. So again, sometimes you just don't have the goods, and that's golf. And I think you can kind of chalk it up to that.
Okay, devil's advocate here. Yes,
Yeah.
Drew is new with Grace, but isn't that why he gets the job? Because of his vast experience winning with his sister,
Yeah.
winning with Andrea, being on team events where the pressure is at its highest. Isn't that why he gets jobs? And this goes across over to the men's side. Guys get jobs because of the ability to quickly step in and address something because of their experience.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And again, I think somewhere right now he's probably thinking of maybe things he could have or should have done. because that's not the golf that they turned up to play, and that's not how they wanted to finish. No doubt. But, I always have the opinion that like guys can't be scared to demand the room out there, and guys can't be scared to get fired. And so I always say a player is hiring you not because you can tell them it's 160, 175 hole and six behind it. They're hiring you because they like being around you and they trust you, and they're hiring you because they like your personality. And everyone's different out here, so everyone's going to deliver that talk in a different way. But you can fake it for maybe a week or two, but after like the third week of working for someone, your true personality is going to come out, and either they're going to like it or they're not. And so I always tell guys, people hire you because they like you. They don't hire you because you can tell them it's 175 in a sexier, better way. And so from that perspective, I do think Drew probably has some techniques or things that he will be prepared to tell her, and maybe take one of those timeouts down the road, so they can calm down, they can make a birdie on a par five, and just kind of calm the storm when it's a roller coaster going downhill.
Okay, before we wrap this episode with the conversation we're having, the next natural question for me to ask you is,
Yes.
you're doing US Open qualifying here the next couple of months. What LPGA caddy, based on the personalities, not necessarily Jason McD, because he's got the number one player in the world, while he is good at his job, he may not be your pick. So who are you hiring on the LPGA to take you to the US Open at Lancaster Country Club if you're a female, or Pinehurst if you're a guy?
I've been asked kind of the same question a lot of times, but I'm taking Josh Williams no matter what. It's on the profile. He's taught me so much about this job. He's the reason why I'm still out here. Is the reason why I wear the Jordans. So I'm definitely taking Josh Williams.
I think that's a great answer. I think he's a lot of fun to be around, and I know you guys are extremely close, and that does play a huge role into a pressure pack situation like a U.S. Open qualifier.
What's your answer on the LPGA, Drew?
On the LPGA Tour, honestly, it's probably you.
Oh, come on.
Well, again, I don't need somebody to get my yardages. I need somebody to keep me relaxed out there and somebody to be upbeat. And I've never seen you have a bad day on the golf course. So that's an easy call for me. Let's go get in the US Open, kid.
I'm in.
All right, Scotty, any final thoughts on this LPGA discussion we're having today?
So now just 5-time winner now, Hannah Green kind of, puts a cherry on top to an already won in Singapore earlier this year. And I think kind of bookends another really good year, no matter, how the rest of it goes. And I know Wilshire pretty well, but Hannah might make an offer for knowing Wilshire better than everyone else. Just heard this stat. In the last 3 or 4 years, she's faced 578 different people at Wilshire. She's beaten 572 of them.
That's decent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Scotty, thanks for joining me, and thanks for giving me your opinion on this episode of My Side of the Bag.
Go be kind to one another.